Okay, so then the accounting, just because you're not required as a trustee to file anything with the probate court does not mean you shouldn't let people know what you're doing. Depending on what the asset makeup is, an annual income tax return may be a really good way of telling everybody this is what came in, this is what's gone out. Or maybe you want to do something a little bit more sophisticated than that. We can help you with that as well. And then for probate, definitely within a year of the date of death, the probate court's going to say, where are you? What are you doing? For a lot of you, because you've gotten planning in place, it's not going to take that long unless there's something that was forgotten, found later, what have you. But certainly within regular intervals, we're going to want to let the probate court know on an interim or a final basis, this is what's come in, this is what's gone out so far, this is what we have, and this is where it's going to go to.
Yeah. We find for most of our LifeBridge clients, we're able to have all this done in 5 or 6 months. So the year, the 2 year, not a problem. Now, that assumes a couple of things. One, that you kept us informed along the way, and that as we're working with you, you actually respond to the phone calls and do the things we ask you to do. Because as hopefully you figured out, this is not an automatic thing that just takes care of itself.
So then, once you've gotten everything in, you've collected it all, you've paid what needed to be paid out to the creditors in the order of priority, you've got something left, it's time to look at the distributions. So the trust may have some specific distributions, which may be specific property or specific amounts for certain people. Those would be taken care of, and then there's how is the remainder to be distributed. Read the document. We'll help you read it. We're not going to tell you to do this all on your own, but then we're going to follow the terms of that unless it doesn't make economic sense to do so. And then for probate, same thing. If you've got specific bequests under the will, you're going to honor those. We're going to help you coordinate that and send things out if you've got charitable bequests and whatnot. We'll help send out forms to make sure that we get receipts back so that we know that people have gotten what you've sent to them. It's one thing if it's your sister and you're handing a check over. It's another if you're mailing it to somebody that you don't really even know that well.
On a few occasions, part of the discussion is, okay, the instructions say that I have discretion, but practically speaking, is it an okay time to distribute some things in light of the likelihood or possibility of other expenses and things I have to deal with? And you know, trustees are family members, and trustees may have pressure from other family members to make distributions because I need something now, and we will try to help you walk down that tightrope.
Or be the person saying, no, tell them we said it's too soon.
Right.
And then you can throw it on our laps instead. And then if there are outright distributions under the will, we'll help you coordinate that, make sure those get done, and any certificates, anything that you need, particularly real estate, where you want to make sure that you've got clear land title, we'll help you process whatever forms need to be done to take care of that.
Right. Now, most beneficiaries think that the distributions is all that we need to think about. We have to go through all this other stuff before we can talk about distributions. Where you've got a living trust, most of your living trusts for married couples are going to provide for family trust and a marital trust, and the tax code is called a qualified terminal interest and property trust, QTIP for short, okay? And then the assets may all pass outright to the beneficiary's children without any asset protections at all. What lots of you have done is you've got that same basic arrangement that says, okay, everything drops down into one of these two trusts for the surviving spouse, or into both, depending upon the size of the estate. At the death of the surviving spouse, then things get, if the estate's large enough, divided up into trust shares for each one of the beneficiaries, and that allows those assets to be protected from all the bad things financially that can happen to them. So what kind of things is it protected from?
It is protected from things like your child gets divorced. Perhaps you'd like all of your funds to stay with your child, not the ex-spouse. If your child gets in an accident, is sued, doesn't have sufficient insurance coverage, maybe you'd like your assets to be protected and remain for the benefit of your child, not any of their creditors. If for some reason they have maybe a catastrophic health event and they have to file bankruptcy, you can protect your assets so that they're still used for the benefit of your child and not sucked up by those medical bills. I don't know how much detail you want. There's a process whereby somebody who is going to receive an inheritance can say, no, thank you. Maybe you're in the process, maybe the beneficiary is in the process of a long-term care application seeking public benefits. And this chunk of money is simply going to go to those care issues that would otherwise be covered. They might want to say, no, I don't want this. There may be tax purposes for being able to say, no, I don't think this insurance, I don't need this and I don't want it, and I'm just going to step away and let it pass to whoever's named beyond me. Those are complicated. Those we would talk to you about. That's why we say don't cash that check. We may need to discuss with you if this is an appropriate distribution or if we should let this one pass down to the next in line.
Disclaimers are more complicated than we can get into here. They're like a second or third or fourth chance at trying to get it right, but you have to do everything right along the way for a disclaimer to be effective. Occasionally we will do one that isn't effective so that we get other results that we want. So it's just another tool that we have.
So we can't say it enough. Talk to your family about what you want. Here's some topics. And consider yourself, is your trust or will up to date? We talk to you, we communicate with you every year. If you have changes that you haven't told us about, that maybe something has sparked something in your mind that you've heard here today, let us know. We're happy to help you get it to where it needs to be to do what you want.
If we've called you and suggested you should come in and see us, and you haven't, you really should come see. We don't call and bother you unless there's a good reason.
We'll have to see you, but we know you're busy. Have I funded my trusts? All of those examples that we've given you about this is your plan and this is what really happens, that's where a lot of them come from. And the rest of the questions that were there. Helpers, are you still on board? And just one thing I do want to throw out there, I know we're talking about a lot of complicated paperwork and decision making. Along those lines, a quick example I'll share with you too is between the time you drafted your documents and now, if you've figured out that maybe son or daughter would not be able to make those difficult health decisions for you when the time comes. You've lost a spouse, and there's one kid who said, okay, I know this is what mom wanted, and the other one said, do whatever you need to. Consider whether or not the person you've named to make those healthcare decisions can, in fact, in a time of stress, do those things for you. That would be a simple change we could make for you if you say, you know what, John could never do this, but Karen certainly would. We help with that. So then what we'd be looking for as far as ensuring that your estate plan is going to work for you is there an estate tax problem in the state? Is there an estate tax problem anywhere else? Is your property titled correctly to work with your plan? Do you have efficiency built in? Do you have flexibility and options? And that will include tax planning and asset protection for yourself, your beneficiaries, to make sure that what you leave for your beneficiaries gets to them and is used by them as much as possible, that your helpers can do what you need them to do and are willing to do so, are physically, mentally, and busy-wise able to do that for you. But we need to know what you have. We don't know what we don't know. Keep track of those original documents. You've got the binder, you've got the website. We've only got copies. There are times you need that original. And we will work with your other advisors. We want to know who they are. We want to coordinate with them. We want them to know what we're doing and vice versa. We have time for questions? I told you I could speed it up.
You did great, okay? Now, we have several things that we're going to try and do. There's an evaluation form. Actually, there's a couple of them in here. First one says successor trustee meeting evaluation. We really appreciate your feedback. We make modifications based on what we learned from these. Okay? And that's about this workshop and your experience here. Okay? Next year, we want to remember to print this in a different color. Okay? This other form says Weatherby and Associates PC feedback questionnaire. This is your evaluation, your feedback on the firm and how we're doing. What we need to do differently, better. Maybe you can even tell us what we're doing well. Okay? We'd really appreciate that. Okay?
We didn't pre-fill that part for you. We left it for your own work.
I tried to get him to, but they wouldn't let me. Okay?
Just a
Okay?
suggestion.
Now, there's another form in here that says, it's all about your family. Have you protected your...
You're past Gail.
Have you protected yours? Join us for a free workshop. Okay? Now, have any of you learned anything today that you think might be useful? Okay. Now, we've been mostly talking about what you have to do after you do good planning. Okay? This other workshop that we're talking about here is the 7 threats to your family security and estate plan. That's a workshop about what you can do from a planning perspective to get a good plan like all of our LifeBridge clients have. We've talked about this. This is about a 2-hour presentation that addresses all the problems that one needs to think about to have a plan to deal with it. We are doing these mostly in our office, in our new conference room. Okay? They're small groups. We've given you a list of the ones that are currently on the calendar. If you, a family member, a friend, neighbor, relative wants to know more about this, this is an opportunity to share this with them. Have them call the small groups, so they got to register. We don't have room for people just showing up. We had 9 people in our old conference room here for the last one by accident, and let's say it was cozy. The new conference room's a little bigger, but not that much bigger. And also on our website. As we get these scheduled, it'll be on the website and they can sign up from the website as well.